Hello, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. Welcome back to Musically Sound. As always, I am your host, the Mastodon. Today is a music related video, but it's not a review. Um, I have been watching a channel. He's been steadily growing. Sea of Tranquility. He has a website and I believe a podcast. He's also a member of the comic book community. It's Pete Pardo. His comic book channel is Comic Book Geezers, so if you get a chance, check him out. Just a couple of guys that enjoy some of the comic book stuff that we love, and who doesn't love music. But he does a lot of ranking videos. He ranks albums by artist, so I figured I'd give it a go. And I'm going to start off with Thin Lizzy. And let me tell you, I have been listening to Thin Lizzy either in my truck or here at home for the last month and a half, almost 2 months now, trying to break down and get a handle on a ranking of sorts for Thin Lizzy. But I got to tell you, it's freaking difficult. I may have brought this up in my one of my recent videos. Comic book video was very difficult, but we'll get this rolling. Now I only have 9 of the 12 studio albums physically, but thank you very much to Amazon Prime, I was able to listen to the 3 that I don't have, and you'll see where they fit into my ranking. This is least favorite to favorite, and with Thin Lizzy, it's very fluid, and these are all excellent albums. These aren't albums. Just because it's at the bottom of the list does not mean that I don't like the album, you know. So, and today's episode is brought to you by a future episode of my Marvel graphic novel reviews. The beautiful art of Brent Eric Anderson and the story by Christopher Claremont. X-Men, God Loves, Man Kills. So stay tuned for that on the Mastodon Comics and Collecting part of the channel. First up, Nightlife. As I said, it's a good album. It just didn't grab me as much as some of the other albums. There's a couple of good tracks on it. She Knows starts off with She Knows is a great song. Nightlife is a great song. Shalala and Dear Heart are also great songs, but it just doesn't have that fervor that I enjoy with other Thin Lizzy albums. Up next, number 11 is Renegade. This is one of the albums that I do not have, and this album also did not have that punch that I expected from Thin Lizzy. It didn't grab me. There's a couple songs, obviously the title track, that got me, but that just didn't stick with me. Next up at number 10, Shades of a Blue Orphanage is a great album. This is the album that has Whiskey in a Jar, which was later covered by Metallica. Some would say brilliantly. I prefer the original. A lot of people that are Metallica suck boys. That's what I like to call them. Prefer the cover, but that's just the way it is. Songs like Buffalo Gal, I Don't Want to Forget How to Jive, Brought Down, Call the Police. Call the Police. I love that song. It's a great song. The opening song, The Rise and Dear Demise of the Funky Nomadic Tribes. Great song, great album. They're all great, as I said, but it just this was a very difficult one. As I said, I listened to these albums for the last month and a half, trying to rank them. Next up, another of the three albums that I don't have, Black Rose. I it's for me it's too, I don't know, I guess theatrical. The theme, I guess, is too theatrical. I couldn't I couldn't get into it either. But it's these ones here are fluid for me in the middle. Um, uh, Chinatown followed up at uh, next, and Chinatown is a great album. Some great tracks on there as well. Um, Next up, Bad Reputation. This is a great album. Uh, if you'll notice on the cover, uh, Mr. Robinson is missing. I guess there was some issues at the time. That's maybe when he was on his way out. But Soldier of Fortune, Bad Reputation, Dancing in the Moonlight. Uh, that Woman's Gonna Break Your Heart. I mean, these were just great songs. Definitely check that one out. Next up, My Introduction was also their first album. This came out in 1970 or 71. I can't remember. 71. And this also has, there was an EP, the Remembering EP. So the last five songs on that album are great. But I love that. That's such a great cover. Just that image with the car. Um, but the opening track, this displays in full force uh, Phil Lynnett's storytelling capabilities with the songs. Friendly Ranger at Clontarf Castle. Um, Honesty is No Excuse. Diddy Levine, just a great little story about I'm going to say a woman drifting through life from man to man. Ray Gun, very Hendrix-esque song. Just something that portrayed what was probably to come from Thin Lizzy. Return of the Farmer's Son, Saga of the Aging Orphan, Remembering Part 1. Just this whole Old Moon Madness. Just a great, that song kind of reminds me of something that Van Morrison would have done. Next up, at number 6, Thunder and Lightning. With the introduction of John Sykes on guitar, this is a heavy album. This is Thin Lizzy metal. It's also their last album, released in 1983. Just that fist punching through the earth. Just and the guitar spiked in the ground. Just a perfect cover. Thunder and Lightning. Just a thunderous roar going into it. This is the one. The sun. I mean, this entire album. Cold Sweat, covered by I don't know how many bands. One of them, a German thrash metal band called Sodom. Just a display of raw Thin Lizzy power. Just definitely check that one out. Up next, their third album, Vagabonds of a Western World. Great album. I was lucky enough to find this one a deluxe edition. Mama Nature Said, excuse me. The Hero and the Madman, Slow Blues, The Rocker. Just a great rock and roll song. Little Girl in Bloom, Gonna Creep Up on You. Just that one, just great display of Phil Lynnett's bass playing. And some of the bonus tracks on here, Broken Dreams, Here I Go Again, Little Darling, and Sitamoia with Mr. Moore on guitar as for a bonus track. Just a great album. This is where it gets difficult. Coming in at number 3, Johnny the Fox. I love this album. I thought I was going to make it my number 1, but there's just two other ones that kind of edge it out. Johnny the Fox, just a phenomenal album. Johnny, Rocky, just a fabulous display of storytelling in this album. This is also the album, I believe this is their 6th album. Boogie Woogie Dance, Johnny the Fox meets Jimmy the Weed. I mean, that's some of Phil's storytelling at its best. That would make a great comic book, I think. That story itself. Definitely a great album. Coming in at number 2, Fighting. Second album featuring Mr. Robinson and Mr. Gorm, Mr. Gorm, on guitars, the double guitars. And let me tell you, from get-go, Rosalie, For Those Who Love to Live, Fighting My Way Back, Fighting. Just a great song, a prelude to what was going to come from this band in the next few years. And coming in at number 1, probably top on a lot of people's lists, probably number 2 on a lot of people's lists, but Jailbreak. I couldn't escape it. I love this album. I love the very comic book-esque image on the center of it, of the cover. From get-go, the song Jailbreak, Warriors, The Boys Are Back in Town, probably the song that everybody knows but doesn't know who it's by. When I first heard that song, I thought it was Kiss, because it just had that feel. Cowboy Song, Emerald, just beautiful storytelling in this album. Angel from the Coast and Running Back are just two of my favorite Thin Lizzy tracks. So there you have it. There's my ever evolving list for this band. So difficult, and I challenge any other Thin Lizzy fans out there to give this a shot, because it's hard, it's difficult. So number 1, Thin Lizzy, Jailbreak. Number 2, Fighting. Number 3, Johnny the Fox. Followed by number 4, Vagabonds of a Western World. Number 5, Thunder and Lightning. Number 6, first album, Thin Lizzy. Number 7, Bad Reputation. Followed by numbers 8 and 9, Chinatown, and then Black Rose. Number 10, Shades of a Blue Orphanage, their third album. Their second album. Followed by number 11, Renegade, and number 12, Nightlife. So there you have it. There is my first album ranking. Stay tuned. I am going to be doing Iron Maiden, which happens to be my favorite band, and Iron Maiden was also equally somewhat difficult. The bottom 3 weren't that difficult to pick. The top 3 weren't really that difficult to pick, but the ones in the middle were. It was rough. It was rough. I'm also going to try to do Judas Priest, and maybe Black Sabbath down the road here. Thank you for checking out my video, checking out the rankings. Let me know in the comments if you're a Thin Lizzy fan. What would you put your rankings at, and or what bands if any, would you like me to try to do? I'm not going to promise because I don't have as big a collection as Pete Pardo does, but I have heard a lot of albums from bands. And there's also some bands I haven't gotten a chance to listen to. So if there's anything you can recommend, I highly appreciate it. Thanks again for checking out the video. Feel free to give me a like and a thumbs up and a subscribe if you want. And as always, get out there and listen to some music.